We just returned from a 2-week vacation in Sri Lanka. We traveled from the capital, Colombo, all along the southern coast to experience their beautiful beaches. And then we went up into the mountains where Sri Lanka's biggest export, tea, is grown. And then back to the coast to unwind. We did a pretty typical route, not really getting off the tourist trail too much. Sri Lanka is a great place to travel. The people are so friendly. I'll admit that I had my guard up a little bit at times. At one point I was sure I'd been scammed.
We get up to go on this safari. We meet him at 4:30 in the morning. It's like, oh, my manager took the money. I need more money to get the tickets.
It turned out the guy's situation, despite being pretty unprofessional, was true, and we ended up getting our money back. Of course, tuk-tuk drivers will try to overcharge you, but for the most part, the people seem really happy to have tourists in their country. The people appreciate the growing tourism industry, and it's helping their economy a lot.
Has there been more tourism in Sri Lanka in the past 5 years?
Yeah. Before the 2009, yes, we have a war. After the war, tourism becoming the most. And now government also tried to take the tourism with the first place for the economy. And the Yala and this area, there's the not popular with the tourism. Now it's becoming.
Yeah, it's very, very popular.
Yeah. Now tourism, it's become a fourth place for the government, GDP. And in the past year, there's the sixth place and come to the fourth. And government target, and after 3 years, it's come to the second or first.
Wow.
Now, one of my favorite things about the country is the vast array of wildlife. We saw the world's largest animal, the blue whale. We saw the world's largest fish, the whale shark. Second largest lizard in the world, water monitor. Birds like eagles, storks, pelicans, kingfishers, cormorants, a ton of wild peacocks, crocodiles, mongoose, snakes, turtles, wild boars, dolphins, iguanas, deer, buffalo. I'm sure I'm missing some stuff, but it seemed like everywhere that I turned, I was seeing a wild animal that I'd never seen before. Hotels and guest houses in Sri Lanka aren't expensive, but you have to watch out on the back end of most booking sites. They have a bunch of fees for some reason. Sometimes like 30%. So like a $30 hotel would end up costing $39. Now, not every hotel had these fees, but you got to keep an eye out for them. I found that if you book through Airbnb, you can avoid most of them. But then again, Airbnb wouldn't have the same amenities, like shampoo, for example, wouldn't be included in the bathrooms. Also, the hospitality was great, but it was just not as tourist-minded as what you'd get in a hotel. I think we stayed in 3 Airbnbs and 4 hotels or guest houses, and I'd say overall the hotels were more comfortable, but we probably paid a little bit more for them. I think our average was about $30 all in per night in a hotel, and Airbnb it was about $20 to $25 per night. So this is the hotel we're staying at. It's $30 a night. Pool, some balconies that overlook the canal, which is over here. It's a good little spot. The rooms are nice. Everything you need. What are you guys making? Chocolate?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Most of the places on the tourist trail have an abundance of places to stay, so if you're not really into booking ahead, you should be fine. Just make sure there's no holidays or festivals going on. Also, Sri Lanka is a pretty loud place. If you're a light sleeper, you might want to avoid hotels on busy roads. Let's move on to transportation. As tourism grows in Sri Lanka, I think the country needs to improve its transportation options. Right now, the options between cities range from trains, which are overly crowded and pretty slow actually, to buses, which are even more crowded, they're hot, they're cramped, and the only other option is private vehicle hires, which are expensive. We mostly took buses because they're faster and they're super cheap.
All right, this is catching a bus in Sri Lanka. We're at the bus station in Tangalle, and we're waiting to get a bus to Tissa. So basically the bus is going to pull up here, we're going to run for it. It's somewhat simple, but it's kind of chaotic. Basically you pay on the bus, you get on the bus, take a seat, or you stand, and then the guy comes around and asks you where you're going and charges you however much. There's signs up along here that say the locations they're going. They just don't have a sign for Tissa, so we know the bus shows up here. We actually saw one come, it was packed to the gills, so we didn't bother getting on it. It should come every 5 to 10 minutes, so it's not a big deal to wait, because we do want to sit down. Now they did say to us, oh, we'll find you a seat, we'll find you a seat. And I just know they want to charge us more. That's what they're going to charge us a little bit more, which is fine. It's super, super cheap. But I just hate the idea of like, no, we're paying more, so you get out, you got to stand. Another thing to mention, the red buses. There's a red bus over there. Those are government buses. Blue ones, or sometimes they're pink or whatever color, those are privately owned. They're a little bit faster, a little bit more money, but not a lot of money, so it's not a big deal. This one? Thank you. All right, this is what we're dealing with now. Insane, fizzy, and let's sit here. There we go. So we both got seats, but not together. And it's a pretty packed bus. It's hot. I'm in between two people. And yeah, this is traveling to Sri Lanka.
We did take a private car once. The cost was 5,500 LKR, about $35 US for a 2.5 hour trip from Tissa to Yala, which is about 90 kilometers. Now the bus probably would have cost like $3 each, so it's a $29 difference there. It's pretty big. We also took the popular 7-hour train ride between Yala and Kandy. Honestly, it was a little underwhelming. The day was rainy and foggy, so we didn't really see too much. The train was packed with people standing in the aisles. A lady was standing over Sarah eating dal, and just like crumbs were falling from her mouth onto Sarah's head. It was a highlight for me, but a low light for Sarah. Trains can be booked days in advance or online. It's good to book ahead because you'll guarantee yourself a seat, but if you can't, then if you show up 30 minutes before the train arrives, you can get last minute tickets. Now these tickets don't guarantee you a seat, but if you rush on the train and get any seat that's open, you probably will be pretty good. But there were a bunch of people that had to stand for about 6 hours as the train slowly made its way up the mountain. Tourism is growing every year in Sri Lanka, so perhaps now is a good time to go before it gets too busy. China seems to be setting up Sri Lanka as a tourist destination. They've invested a lot of money in the country.
This is a good example of how Colombo is expanding. All this area here, the sand, you can see the sand along here, that is like new land within, I guess, 4 years. They're literally taking deep sea ocean sand and pumping it onto the land and building this new land. They're going to build casinos, hotels, all kinds of cool stuff.
Visa purpose for foreigner, for easy for living here.
And when will it be finished?
2026.
There are a few negative things that it should include that happen to be some of my favorite things. Internet is slow. Sometimes it doesn't work at all. Good coffee is hard to find. Alcohol is a pain to get, and it's a little bit expensive. There are quite a few mangy-looking stray dogs running around. It never really bothered us, but just mangy-looking dogs everywhere. Other than that, just small things that haven't really caught up to the boom in tourism that Sri Lanka has experienced, but I think that will eventually work itself out. So I purposely left out food from this video because I wanted to dedicate an entire video to that. I'll outline what breakfast is, what lunch, dinner is like. I'm going to give you some recommendations, so stay tuned for that video, or maybe it's finished and you can click on it now, somewhere around my head probably. So thanks for watching. Please subscribe below, hit the bell icon to get notified of upcoming videos. And remember, from the rolling tea fields to the beaches to the sea, Sri Lanka really is the place to be.